Hello, R5ers. This is Ion here, giving you a quick guide on how to ninja. So, if this is your first time playing a ninja, or you just want to learn how to pump up your skills, then I can show you a few things that can make your life a little easier. To start off, once you hit 65, all your glyphs should be available for you. And just keep in mind that you can use some merchants or tokens to unlock more glyphs that will at least cost less for you when you are trying to boost the best. For my glyph set, I can pull it up in just a sec. As you know, it will be the K key button. And let's pull up that. There are two different rotations that most people use. It used to be 3, and because of the recent ninja patch, it's now down to 2. The third one that used to be on there was the, I believe, Circle of Steel. Yes, Circle of Steel. There's a Circle of Steel glyph set for your rotation skills, and there's the double cut rotation set, and finally there's a hybrid. I'm more or less dabbling in the hybrid set. Ever since the ninja patch took away some of the damage for the Circle of Steel, most people are going with the hybrid or the double cuts. Okay, so as you can see here in my combo attack, I got the last 2 to increase skill damage by 30% and increase chance for attack speed whenever you're using this. I'll get more into why that's important. If you know this already, you can skip ahead. I'll probably post a timestamp where I'm starting in the rotations or for other things and whatnots. Next thing is the shadow jump. It may not appear to be that important, but having a decreased cooldown of 20% actually helps with your rotation, just to be certain that you are behind the boss. And you need this because when you iframe around a boss that tries to spin around like a ton, being able to be nimble on your feet helps. I don't really have anything for Leaves of the Wind. I do recommend turning the last glyph on, the increased damage by 60% if you're facing against a lot of mobs. That will at least help clear those out. But for most cases, you don't necessarily need these. Jagged Path, not many people use this. I like to use because if I can get as much damage as possible out of my attacks, then I prefer to utilize that. The next bit is Impact Bomb. You don't necessarily need that. For most cases, the decrease in cooldowns, some of these glyphs you don't really need, especially with MP regeneration or health regeneration. If you're using your rotations well, you don't necessarily need to worry about your mana. Next is 1001 cuts. Don't really need to use any glyphs for this. Your only main goal for 1001 cuts is to help stagger. And some bosses, especially proven useful in the Ruinous Manor normal mode, or hard mode. Well, actually hard mode. When you're facing the second boss, 1001 cuts is really helpful when you need to stagger your boss. Next one is the Decoy Jutsu. As you know, quickly get behind the person, mob, boss, player, whichever. Don't necessarily need to use this unless if you're using a PvP set. I'm more focusing on PvE, so if you see some things that you have that is not matched up to this, just keep that in mind. Next one is Fire Avalanche. I recommend using both. You want to increased chances of crits and increased damage. You need this because it will help you burn when you're in certain shield phases or whatnot. Smoke Bomb, you don't necessarily need this. Next thing, Retaliate, that happens whenever you get knocked down. You don't need to increase or damage or decrease cooldown. Not really necessary. Always have your focus on, no matter what. If you're teleporting to a different place, you'll lose your focus. You need to turn that back on. Starfall. I believe Starfall is going to be one of your highest damage dealing moves, so you definitely want to increase damage for that. I have this, again, I have a hybrid, so if you see something like this, this says increased damage for Circle of Steel. I may need to change that, but I haven't gotten around to it. I'll probably switch over to Double Cut glyph set, but I'm working with this for now, and doubles the chances of crits. You need those. Circle of Steel, get the last two. You don't need reduced mana cost. Double Cut, I went over that. Burning Heart, you probably need the last one. Increased damage by 30%. Definitely will help when you're trying to break shields on boss, or you're trying to clear out mobs. Really helpful. Death Blossom, don't necessarily need it. It's not really important to have, and your Death Blossom actually is just to keep your enemies close in one center. And, wait, am I mixing it up? No. Yes, I am mixing it up. Don't worry about that. Yeah, not really necessary move to be glyphed on, unless if you're in PvP. Attunement. Definitely want the last two. Decrease cooldown and increase speed cast for Fire Avalanche and Burning Heart. You definitely want to use this before you use any of the other moves. It will help you out and you'll be able to burn a lot quicker. Blade Storm, don't really need to have any glyphs for that. Again, it works better for PvP, although the damage that it does is slightly lessened because of it, the last patch, so use proper discretions. Chakra Thrust, just for stunning. Don't need it for anything else. Let's see, this is Outlaw Declaration. This is when you hit either level 11 or 21. You'll be able to go to Velica and use the Outlaw Declaration where you can go any approved PvP area and just wreak havoc. Alright, that's pretty much it. The Clone Jutsu, just for funsies. Man, yeah, the Mongol event is currently happening, so okay, I haven't taken that off, but I know, bad ion. And the rest of these don't necessarily need to worry about. You don't really need to use these two. I mean, I'm pretty certain if you hit level 65, you've already noticed that it's not really important to have. Alright, and your passive, don't necessarily need to go into it. Not really important for you to pay attention to. Because if you're a ninja, you're most likely going to have the same thing. Alright, so, now that we're ready to begin, I'd like to show off a few things as far as my gear set, just so you can compare and contrast. Right now I have my Imperator weapon still at plus 14. I'm trying to work as much as I can to get it to 15. Too much. Tier 10. If you can check on here, you can check with your own stats. Regardless of the extra lines that I have, it's important to have at least these items. Ignore increased damage when attacking knockdown targets. It's not that important to have. What you really need is to decrease skill cooldown. The top one definitely needs to be increased damage when attacking a raged monster. It needs to be that. Some people prefer increased attack skills. Okay, yes, there's a preference, but for the basics, you need to have increased damage when attacking ranged enemies. Increased damage when attacking from behind is also important. It is possible to have a second roll of increased damage when attacking enraged monsters at the bottom or at the second sets. Yes, you can do that. It will stack. The next one, this is where I said it was important to focus either on double cuts or Circle of Steel. Since Circle of Steel is not all that useful, you probably just want increased damage by double cuts, by 12%. This is probably the only skill set that the only skill that you're going to roll for on here. Everything else, you just need decreased damage from frontal attack, increased healing effects, raise max HP, and decreased damage from enraged monsters. Next, my gloves. Oh, this is Imperator. My gloves is Starfall plus 15. Etchings are great to have, especially for your weapon and gloves. I have increased power, increased crit factor, and increased attack speed. Those are the only things that you need to have for this. Last but not leastly, the recent, this may date the video bits, but the recent release was Ghillie armor, or Ghillie gear and ambush. I have Ghillie slippers, and you just want increased endurance, increased MP, and increased movement speed. And as far as your crystals go, best to have keens for your jewelry. Carving Nuvit is, you can swap out carving with pounding depending on who you're running with, but that will be a whole nother guide that you will look into. Next crystal best to have is, come on. Well, even if it don't show, this is bitter. Next one is focused and savage. Best for use when using PvE. The rest of these are just hardy. They all are the same except for the last one, which has a second benefits to it. All these are, like I say, they're smart dyads, and so use those. They'll never break. Probably can't use them for keens. I haven't tried them out. I don't necessarily recommend unless if you are able to test it. But I don't recommend getting that because it is so bound to whatever items you're using. And if you're planning on upgrading any of these, it will suck to not be able to use those crystals again. Alright. And for your crit factor, you probably want to shoot for 220, 230. That's a nice sweet spot. For your crit factor, mine's a little low because I am currently in the phase of upgrading my jewelry, but that's where you want to shoot yourself for. Not shooting yourself in the foot, but that's the goal that you want to go for. Alright. So, now I've gone over that, I'm going to pop a few things. Make sure that my Primal Battle Solutions is up and running. And, hey, focus. I am definitely focused. And so we're going to take a look at my rotation. I'll post the rotation in front of your screen on what I am doing. And so it will be easier for you to follow along. So, I'm going to do a quick rundown by attacking this guy. He's dead. Oh my gosh, that was so quick. What did he do? Well, normally, whenever you are running towards an enemy, you would either pop your brooch and use your decoy jutsu. Right there. Decoy jutsu, get behind, use double cuts. The next skill that I use, normally you can get away with using Skyfall next, but I usually like to use Jagged Path. as it increases damage. And then the next skill that I use is Skyfall. Follow that up with Circle of Steel, and use your combo attack to decrease the cooldowns for the rest of your moves. Keep doing that until your decoy jutsu is fully ready to use, and then you can start that rotation all over again. Now, if all of it is still on cooldown, you may have to go a little bit longer. There is another benefit, if depending on your ping, that you could use to help reduce your decrease speed a little bit more, and that is called auto weaving. Now, my ping is a bit good. Let's see what it is. 24. Okay, yeah. So it probably won't work for me, but if your ping is like, let's say 90 and up, then auto weaving will best help for you. Now, to auto weave, you have to, when you're attacking your opponent or monster, whichever, you want to make sure you hold down your combo attack and tap the movement, or W, as quickly as possible. That jump flip that the ninja does after the 7th combo attack hit, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, you can skip that animation, which will allow you to execute a lot quicker and be able to start your rotation over, quicker. What I like to do is use the left and right while holding up. It may not work for some people. I'm just comfortable using that. But it's probably best that you hit the up button and just tap that. You may have sore fingers. That's probably going to happen. But it may take some getting used to. But once you're able to do so, you'll be able to see the difference. Again, this is only when you have higher ping, because it only allows you to skip certain things when you're doing that. If you have lower ping, it might not help you, so you probably won't benefit from that much. And when you build up your chi, depending on what you're doing, if it's a mob, or not a mob, but if it's a boss that doesn't have a shield phase or whatnot, use Attunement, Fire Avalanche, or use Attunement and Burning Heart to help burn. Burn. Whenever using a shield, whenever going against a mob I keep saying mob, a boss that has a shield phase, I usually like to switch out between Attunement, Burning Heart, then, not Burning Heart, Fire Avalanche, and then Attunement, Brooch, and Fire Avalanche. Those two will help break shields. It'll also depend on your party makeup too, and what gear you have. It doesn't always work, but at least you'll be able to do the DPS to play your part. Alright, and as you can watch closely to my hotkeys, this is what I like to have set. Most of my skills are on the left. And some of my healing items I typically like to keep with me. Foul Nostrums, Canaphora. Don't necessarily need to use this, but I have a lot. I like to burn through it. I like to save my bravery potions for when it's really, really needed. And I have a few rejuvenation potions and health potions just in case if the healer aren't able to get to me. So, that's a basic guide to Ninja, and I hope you all enjoy. Thank you.
Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe, and check out my other videos as well. Have a nice day.